Chuck Rolls is our next inductee, a Binghamton native and Binghamton Central High basketball standout. He from Binghamton went on to star at Cornell University, where several of his achievements remain records through 60-plus years. As a high school senior, he scored 57 points in one game. From early on, he was a great dribbler and an accurate one-handed jump shot artist. His success throughout was without the benefit of the three-point shot that's now so prevalent. College rules, of course, then did not permit the three-point play. As a 5'6" Cornell senior, Rolls scored 30 points or more in 9 different games. Along with Ivy League foes in that stretch, he also scored that range 30 or more points against teams like Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Syracuse. Game high against the Qs, 42 points. In Rolls' by the way, his opponent in that 42-point effort, All-American Jim Brown. In Rolls' first year at Cornell, in his first year of varsity eligibility, the Big Red reached the NCAA tournament for the first time. They also won the Ivy League that season, a title that would not be claimed again by them for 30 years. Chuck is listed in the ESPN College Basketball Encyclopedia as Cornell's best player and a charter member of the Cornell Athletic Hall of Fame. Chuck was unable to be here tonight, but accepting on his behalf is Hall of Fame committee member John Fox.
I came to Binghamton right out of college, 1949. It's close enough. And Chuck is a native of the south side of Binghamton. Let's see, he was born on Pennsylvania Avenue. And I had the good fortune to realize firsthand how promising a basketball career he had, in that I, at the time, was living, the Binghamton YMCA at that time was on Washington Street, I guess. It was within, I was working at the press building, and I chose that to rent a room because it was only about a 5-minute walk to the office. And so if you rented a room, you were entitled to play for free in the gyms if there was nobody else using it at that time. And sometimes the afternoons were dull. And I encountered a little kid there was a kind of an auxiliary little kids gym off the second floor gym. And there came a day that we had a 3-on-3 game going, and one of the guys had to leave for work or turned an ankle or something. And what are we going to do? Well, somebody said, I'll call Rosie up in the little gym. And he came down, and we resumed the game. We made it because 2 guys had left, I guess, maybe. So we decided to make it a 3-on-3. And this little guy, probably about 4.5 feet maybe at that time, I said, I'll take him. He outscored me 21-0. This is a true story, really. And then I started watching, and he was small enough and young enough that he really hadn't tried out for the school team yet. Then he did, once he went out for Central. He was outstanding from early in his sophomore year, I guess, great dribbler. And Art Sharpstein, who was the coach, emphasized the one-hand jump. And Rolls had 67 in a game in his senior year of high school and went on. He just was such a crowd pleaser. He was just a sweetheart-looking kind of a guy with a strawberry blonde head of hair. And so after his high school career, and he went to Cornell. He had a tremendous following from throughout his career at Cornell. And in that senior year, I forget where'd you get those stats? And well, his sophomore year, which in those days freshmen weren't eligible for the varsity, so his sophomore year turned out to be the first year Cornell had ever gone to the NCAA tournament. And it went on that way. I really don't have any stats on his junior year, but his senior year was just immense. He now had grown up that he was a good 5'6", maybe 5'6.5". And I think it was, do I have these memorized? He did have, I think it was 10 games in his senior year that he scored 30 or more points against people like Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Syracuse with All-America football player Jim Brown. And that was the game in which he set what remains the all-time Cornell record for points in a game. Come on, how many is that? It just was a fantastic year, really. Not that Cornell itself Cornell had won the Ivy League championship in his first varsity year, and which was the first time it had done so in, if I'm not mistaken, 30 years. And he just was such a crowd pleaser. He just was a crowd pleaser. And those figures of how many points I think that he still holds the all-time record for points in a career, at least in his senior season alone. I'm not sure about for his entire career. But he wasn't able to make it tonight. It's a long ways to the part of California that he lives in, and is very sorry that he wasn't able to make it. But it's just a shame that more people are around today that ever saw this young man play basketball. He's as good as we've ever had in these parts, I would say, really. I thank you very much.